Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanahari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanahari. Yashoda Nandana Raja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Yashoda Nandana Raja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Gloria a ti, oh Radha Madhava, que gozas en los bosques de Vrindavana. Gloria a ti, oh Radha Madhava, que gozas en los bosques de Vrindavana. Tú eres el amado de las gopis y el levantador de Govardhana. Tú eres el amado de las gopis y el levantador de Govardhana. Oh hijo querido de Madre Yoda, tú eres el amor de tu devana. Oh hijo querido de Madre Yashoda, tú eres el amor de tu devana. Oh hijo querido de Madre Yashoda, tú eres el amor de tu desgracia. Oh hijo querido de Madre Yashoda, tú eres el amor de tu desgracia. Nityananda Bol, Hari Bolo, Hari Bol. Gaura Nityananda Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we are reading from Positive and Progressive Immortality, nectar excerpts from the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you sit a little bit, the more the door can open. You are right, but he's just in the opening. Prabhu. We are reading from Rejecting all the unfavorable. The Bhagavatam verse says, Doshanushilanam varjaniyam parasvabhava karmani yaprasamsati nindati sa ashubhrashyate svartat ashatya biniveshata. In Sri Bhagavatam, the practice of finding faults in others must be abandoned. The pointlessly judge others is a defect, and therefore such a practice must be abandoned. O Uddhava, you should neither praise nor abuse the nature and actions of others, because you will become preoccupied with falsehood and your best self-interest. Spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. There's another verse to enhance this information from Srila Raghunatha Padanam. He says, for the pure devotees who have taken shelter in the mellow of pure devotion in Vrindavan, even the reverential service of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha is considered to be as adverse as the aspiration for worldly pleasures or liberation. So that's extreme. That's an extreme. And Vaishnavas have a tendency of reaching extreme conclusions. That's a fact. Why? Because love is also extreme. When you really love somebody, there's always extreme. Extreme in what sense? The mother will risk her own life to save her child because her love is extreme. Otherwise, the person, like let's say there's a house is burning and there's a child inside. So most people will calculate, can I do it? Can I not do it? But the mother, she will not think, she will run in. Maybe she has to be held back because somebody says, no, you're going to kill yourself in there. But the mother will not think that way, practically. The same thing happened with Mother Yashoda. When she saw that Krishna was in the fangs of Kali, she wanted to run into the Yamuna, but everybody said, look, everybody touched this water, died. It's poisonous water. That's why Krishna went there. Yashoda just fainted in their arms. She couldn't bear that. She couldn't bear seeing her beloved son in danger and not her taking some action. And we have seen that. We have seen that faculty even in animals. We have seen birds attacking cats who are wanting to eat their nest. And those birds have nothing to say to this cat, but they go rang, hit the cat and they make such strong endeavors to save. So love reaches extremes. But let's analyze it here. There's two instructions. Number one, which is we should not get involved with the problems of others. We should not criticize them. It's not our business. There's exceptions to that. If the disciple requests a guru, please, Gurudev, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Where is some hang up in my process? Why? How can I advance more? So then the guru may say something, but surely not in public. Surely will not let somebody look like a fool in public. That's not. Some people do that, but that's not recommended here by Sri Krishna himself. He said, do not even glorify others. The tendency when you glorify somebody else is also that there's some ego interest mixing in that. In South America we call it chupa medias. That you, or we can say sock suckers. They're like, oh, you're so great, oh, you're so nice, oh. But actually in his mind he wants to get some favors. He wants something in return. So he's not really sincerely appreciating. Because for sincere appreciation, you simply say, okay, what has to be done? If you sincerely appreciate somebody, you join him. Just like freedom fighters. If you're fighting for the freedom of a just cause, and somebody else sees you're doing that, he will say, lift me up. I'll be the next one in the freedom fighting here. And a freedom fighter is a freedom fighter on his own, because when you fight for something, you have to have their own criteria. How far you can go, what you can do, what you cannot do. Of course, there may be coordination, but otherwise, it's like that when you fight for something in a dangerous position, you have to take your own decisions. That is a fact. So it says, to pointlessly judge others is a defect. Pointlessly is put here. Means just for the sake of your ego, or for wanting to show that I know how to do it better, or something like that. No. Shut up. And therefore such a practice must be abandoned. O Uddhava, you should neither praise nor abuse the nature and actions of others. And we are always so busy with thinking what others are doing. This is a disease. What the saying goes, to err is human, but it is more human to blame the things on somebody else. Find the fault with other person rather than finding the fault with yourself. So that is a mentality, and this is rejected here for devotion. If you want to advance in devotional service, let others do whatever they want, and you do what you have to do, and you do it as good as possible. Because you will become preoccupied with falsehood, and your best self-interest will be lost. This is like controlling the mind, controlling the tongue. Controlling the tongue is very important. And we speak with our tongue only the glories of Krishna. The glories, like when we talk about Vishva Vaishnava Rajshava, we are talking very often about potentials, beautiful things. But indirectly, we are also criticizing those who are not embracing these concepts, who are not appreciating what we are coming up with. That's dangerous. That's dangerous, because maybe people don't appreciate it because they've never been exposed to it, they never thought about, last not least, why the Vishva Vaishnava Rajshava goes into a kind of disappearance, and then it comes up, goes into disappearance. People are too concerned with other things, other difficulties or whatever. And then it comes up, like, of course it comes up, because, look, at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was one mission with powerful preachers going out and doing things in different areas. And that's what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur called the Vishva Vaishnava Rajshava. He included that there's other Vaishnavas in other areas who may also be taken in consideration, and he took them in consideration, but he was also focused on that. But he said that there are regional representatives of the Vishva Vaishnava Rajshava. That's in Saraswati Jayasri. There's certain appointments to the, I think this person is in charge of that. So, in other words, then after him, the mission exploded, and all of a sudden there were independent missions all over the world. And now the situation changed. Now what was the Vishva Vaishnava Rajshava? Very obviously, it had natural representation, natural representatives. They were already there. Now what about cooperation? Well, of course there should be cooperation. Number one was Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. He sent Mridangas to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the West when he heard the preaching was going on there, and he was requested, can you get us some Kartal Mridangas? Because if you ever buy Mridangas, you know you have to know how to buy Mridangas. Otherwise, you're not buying good mirangas. So he did that. So it's a natural thing, you know. We are, or for example, I'm going to preach in a new country. The first thing I'm asking, can I get Bhagavad Gitas here in this language? Huh? Because if I want to preach, I want to preach with the Bhagavad Gita. This is the #1 book of our tradition. And we have seen that today there's even several types of Bhagavad Gita on the market. But I think by now, after ISKCON, I would say there's at least 15 different Bhagavad Gitas on the market. There may be more, I haven't counted them. So Bhagavad Gita is so important. So we, as devotees, where do you get the Srimad Bhagavatam? Where do you get the Upadishamrita? Where do you get the Manashiksha of Raghunathas Goswami? Well, a new mission is not going to have any of that. So they have to find out where to get them. So then they will listen around, oh, okay, this mission already printed all these books, we can get them there. So then it requires a nice relationship and a mutual acceptance, you know. I went once through a situation in my life. I was a book distributor of Srila Prabhupada in South America. And because I had some disagreement with the authorities of those times, they said, then you get no more books. Huh? So I was deprived of getting the transcendental books, which were our life and soul, and our sum and substance of preaching as well. Now, what you're going to about the Shastras? Is not, you can't substitute the Shastras with just some beautiful memory. That doesn't work that way. So therefore, Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha has clear concepts of cooperation and understanding, because we are that expanding family which expanded after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You could say previous to him, there was no factual application on the field of the Chaitanya tree. There were too much into different areas. That's why we say Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually revived the original spirit of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I think we can turn on this fan. It's a little stuffy here. Prende el ventilador. Thank you.
Lo he emprendido en meses.
Yeah, because the winter was here. Now it's like an airplane. Maybe you can adjust it low.
This one is the lowest.
This is the lowest?
Yeah.
I think you don't know.
It was one.
It's okay. So this is, I find this very interesting, that don't glorify and don't criticize. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes, you may glorify sometimes. Sometimes you may feel it is appropriate to glorify somebody, but in general not. And it's just simply for encouragement. Like when we give somebody an Audarya award, it's simply to encourage the substance. Something wonderful is done. Like we gave 2 Audarya awards just recently to restoration of some very classical buildings. The #1 was Keshavji Gaudiya in Mathura, where our Prabhupada took sannyas from Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, and the other one was in Radhakunda, the Kunja Bihari Gaudiya, which was personally constructed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur originally. So that was a very beautiful work they did. It requires, and also an Audarya award just serves like an arrow. Look at this, look what was done there. Because sometimes, especially when it comes to construction, as soon as you construct something, everybody thinks that has been there forever. Huh? Nobody can imagine that somebody did hard work to do this, to modify the material energy is such a hard thing, no? But once you construct this, but this was there always, no? Almost. Anyhow, so that's what the Audarya Award is all about. So, because we have what's to be done and what's not to be done. So we should be living in a mental state where we just positive. Positive. When you meditate, be positive. Don't think about who, what you don't like or like that. Don't give that space to your mind. Just be positive. Everything which happens is the way it's meant to happen. It's sometimes difficult to think that way because it's conversation came up even last night in the chat. They say, how do we know Krishna is behind something? That question is very, very, very reasonable question. So, well, then the answer to it that Krishna is behind everything? That means if you cannot understand why Krishna is behind something, then you simply have to accept it. My Lord, you know what you're doing. I'm your devotee. Make me an instrument of your love. Inspire me what to do. And there's nothing else we can do. Really, is nothing else we can do. If it was for me, I stopped the wars right away. I stopped the animal killing immediately. I stopped this. I'll be the big dictator against all sinful activities. And probably nobody will like it. They say, well, who are you? Why you want to stop us doing what we like to do? The ayahuasca people will say, why are you stopping us? It's our freedom to take ayahuasca. God has given the ayahuasca plant, God has given marijuana, God has given alcohol, so why we should not take? And then if somebody says, well, our shastras say this will not help you in spiritual life. Okay, but nevertheless, the people may not agree to be restricted. And therefore, this is the world of options. There are so many options. And it is you to have to choose your option. And you get rewarded according to the option you have taken. And that may be very harsh. Very harsh. First of all, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, don't worry about death. What do you mean, no, don't worry about death? My mother just died. Yeah, that's true. Every mother dies. Not one person has maintained his mother alive. So it seems to be a kind of natural thing that mothers die. So, but I don't like it. Do you have to like everything? Is it you for your choice? Is it for you, sweet will, that things happen? So therefore Krishna makes in the Bhagavad Gita very clear that the wise man, he does not lament neither for the living nor for the death. That's Bhagavad Gita lesson number 1 to Arjuna. And to the extreme that he's a Kshatriya and he's supposed to fight and kill the adversaries. So you could not come up with a more extreme example. Bhagavad Gita has been spoken in a total extreme. So therefore I say, in here the next verse is very extreme also. For the pure devotees who have taken refuge in the mellow of pure devotion in Vrindavan, even the reverential service of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha is considered to be as adverse as the aspiration for worldly pleasures or liberation. My God. These Vrindavan devotees, they are extremists also. And I've seen people being that extremist, too much for me. Too much. I mean, certain times and place and circumstances are there for everything, but like there was the one devotee, he went to Dwarka. And when he was in Dwarka, somebody got him to take some initiation into Vishnu worship, where you get like a hot stamp. Have you heard about the hot stamp? Yeah, that is in the Vishnu, in like Ramanuja initiations, they have like a hot metal, they put it in the hut, and when you're getting initiated, they go, shht, shht, they stamp you. So he got stamped in in Dwarka. When he came back to Vrindavan, he went like, oh, let me check out Dwarka, no? When he came back, Radharani said, sorry, you're not in my group anymore. Huh? You're stamped over to Lord Vishnu's department. And then he was, that's in the Bhaktamala, that story is described, no? So, yes, there is an extremist element there in this, when you're dedicated to your love, when you're determined to practice, to follow a certain line. And the Braj Bhakta, or the Mahaprabhu Bhakta, or the Gopi Bhav followers, no? They want to hear about that, and that's alone. They don't want to hear about Brahman. They don't even want to hear about Daivik Varnashram. They don't even want to hear about Sanatana Dharma. It's not that they don't follow Sanatana Dharma, yes, but and sometimes they may get upset with me when I speak about cleaning. They say, why are you talking about cleaning? Come on, you should talk about Gopi Baba and developing the mood of the gopis. And I say, I think the gopis want it clean also. And they looked at me, okay, clean. Huh? Go clean, you're good. One time I was sitting there, I was doing some cleaning, and two ISKCON sannyasis walked by. I knew them, they were my godbrothers. They watched me, and they talked to each other. And then they say, okay, it's Seva Bhav. You're in the Seva Bhav, good. And they went on. I found it funny. It was Indradyumna Swami and Bibi Govinda Maharaj. So Seva Bhav, yeah, who knows, you know. Also, we don't have to, not all people have to do the same. Krishna has an individual service for each and every one. And yes, we do think that my service is the most important. That comes into the same category as when somebody says, my mother is the best of all mothers. And then he's right. My mother is my best mother because the only one I got. She's not competing with others. But if I say my mother is the only good mother, I'm offending everybody else. Huh? So that's a very serious thing. No? So just by appreciating, that's a subtle point. You appreciate your mother, fine. My mother is the best mother. Yes, for you. But if he say, my mother is the only real mother. And some people do that. They say, my guru is the only real guru. The other gurus, who knows? But as soon as they say that, in the name of glorifying, they're offending. They're minimizing others. And that's not allowed. That will harm your devotional advancement. Your own process will be hampered by that. So in a similar, yes, those who want to go to Krishna in Vrindavan are not attracted to go to Vaikuntha. Nevertheless, we hear that they love the story of Prahlad and Dhruva. And Prahlad and Dhruva, they're being told that they go to Goloka Vrindavan to serve the gopis. And they are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to be very careful. Do not commit some blunder in our own little brains of understanding. To my understanding, these extreme declarations, like this work, they're simply hints. They're hints for us. Hey, if you want to go to Goloka Vrindavan, you got to take it serious. You got to focus on that. Don't play around. And today I'm meditating on Om. The other day I heard an impersonalist's explanation of the Omkara. He gave a half an hour lecture only on the Omkara. And it was quite interesting. But he didn't mention that Akara, A, stands for Krishna. U is representative of Srimati Radharani, and M is the sound of the Jiva Tattva, which is creating the service environment, all those who are serving Radha Krishna. Well, that he didn't mention. He had all kinds of things, the awakened consciousness, the sleeping state of consciousness, a deep sleep of consciousness, like that. Consciousness itself. So he had interesting elements, which are also there. Almost the original creation sound. So can you imagine what kind of power is there in the Om? Fantastic. So therefore, we meditate. Like in our temples in Vrindavan, you don't necessarily find even the Om sign. Huh? Even though we have full regard for it, but because we have the Lord's personal form, and he doesn't have no Sudarshan.
In our garden, the stone you brought from Mansarovar.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we found an Om thrown in the rubbish, so we rescued it. But if you Krishna has hidden his Sudarshan, he hides certain elements, you know. Like if somebody says, why don't we give a conch shell